When you hear the word disaster, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably chaos, right? Helplessness? Well, today we're going to flip that script entirely. We're going to talk about how we can move from just reacting to chaos to actually getting in front of it and taking control. Let's dive in.
I mean, think about it. Every time you see a major disaster on the news, an earthquake, a massive oil spill, those terrifying wildfires, it feels like some random, terrible tragedy. But is it? Or could something have been done to prevent the worst of it? That's the big question we're tackling. Are these things just inevitable, or are they actually risks that we can manage?
To even begin to answer that, we've got to understand the anatomy of a disaster. So, in this first part, let's break down what a disaster really is and just how huge and far-reaching its effects can be.
Now, a disaster isn't just one thing. It really has two very different faces. On one side, you have the awesome raw power of nature. We're talking earthquakes, floods, wildfires, things that have been happening forever. But then, on the other side, you've got disasters that are, well, our fault, human-made. Things like industrial accidents, oil spills, or even deforestation that can lead to catastrophic landslides. And when a disaster hits, its impact is like a shockwave. It ripples through every single part of society. Yeah, there's the obvious physical damage and, tragically, the human cost. But then there are all these other dimensions. The social impact of people being displaced, the massive economic losses that can cripple a country, and of course, the long-term environmental damage. It even gets political, testing governments and international relationships to their absolute limits.
So, how in the world do you tackle a problem that complex? Well, the good news is there's a playbook. And it's not about waiting for the worst to happen. It's a proactive cycle for getting ahead of the curve. This right here is the heart of it all. The key thing to see is that it's a loop, not a straight line. It starts with mitigation. That's building up our defenses. Then comes preparedness, getting our plans and resources ready. When the disaster actually hits, we launch the response. And finally, we have recovery, where we rebuild. But, and this is so important, everything we learn during recovery feeds right back into mitigation, making us stronger and smarter for the next time. It's a constant cycle of improvement.
You know, there's this really simple but powerful idea. The absolute best way to handle a disaster is to stop it from being a disaster in the first place. That is what mitigation is all about. This isn't the dramatic stuff you see on TV. It's the smart long-term work done behind the scenes. Think of it like this. You can either build a stronger bridge from the start, or you can deal with the chaos when it collapses. Mitigation is all about building that stronger bridge.
And the other phases follow right from there. Preparedness is basically having a solid game plan, running drills, stockpiling supplies, making sure everyone knows their role. Response is that all-hands-on-deck moment during the crisis. The search and rescue teams, the first responders, the shelters. And recovery? Well, that's the long, hard road back. It starts with the basics, like getting power back on, and goes all the way to rebuilding entire communities for the long haul.
Okay, but this playbook doesn't run itself. It takes a massive, coordinated team effort. So who are these people? Who actually answers the call when things go sideways?
The official response is kind of structured like a pyramid. At the very top, you've got the national agencies, like FEMA in the US. They're setting the big picture policy and coordinating everything. That strategy flows down to the state level, which helps implement the plans and support the local guys. But the real boots-on-the-ground management, the frontline work, that all happens at the local level.
But let me be clear, the government is not in this alone. Not even close. It's a true all-hands-on-deck effort. You've got the armed forces with their incredible logistical power. You have NGOs and community organizations providing specialized aid. International agencies bring in global expertise and resources. And you even have the private sector pitching in with everything from tech to financial support. It takes everyone.
So, this all sounds pretty good on paper, right? But what does it actually look like in the real world? Let's check out some concrete examples of how this planning actually translates into protecting people.
This is where the rubber really meets the road. For pretty much every hazard you can think of, there's a protection plan. So if you're worried about earthquakes, the solution is enforcing stronger building codes. If you're facing floods, you build levees and flood walls. To manage wildfires, you can use controlled burns to clear out the underbrush. And for something like a cyclone, you can protect and restore natural barriers like coastal mangroves. For every threat, there's a proactive defense.
And you know, sometimes the most powerful tool isn't a giant concrete wall. Sometimes it's just a plan. The simple act of deciding not to build homes in a known floodplain or on a dangerous avalanche path can save an incredible number of lives. A simple zoning map can literally become a life-saving tool.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly sums up everything we've been talking about. Winning at disaster management isn't about finding one magic solution. It's about having this comprehensive, multifaceted approach that looks at every single angle to reduce risk and build communities that can bounce back stronger. So, we have the playbook. We know how to do this. We have the knowledge, the structure, and the strategies to bring order to the chaos. The real challenge, and the question I really want to leave you with, is this. Are we proactive enough to actually use it? Are we willing to invest in being prepared before the sirens start wailing? Because honestly, the answer to that question will define our future.